Hello, my dear friends. How are you doing? Hope you are having an amazing day and not having to deal with drama. Ready for new stories I have for you today? Let's go to the first one. And don't forget to listen to the end of the story, guys, to hear my insights. Enjoy the stories, and don't forget to like and subscribe. And of course, don't forget to leave a comment. Zhao. I, 36 male, met my now ex-wife, Leah, 35 female, when we were both just out of high school. We fell fast and hard. We were each other's first real love, and by 20, we were married. At 22, we had our first child, and by 26, we had 3 kids under 6. I was working long hours as an HVAC technician to support us while Leah was a full-time stay-at-home mom. She was good at it. Our home was warm, our kids were happy, and we made it work on one income. But looking back now, I can see how the cracks began to form. Leah never really had a chance to experience her 20s. While other people our age were traveling, clubbing, starting careers, or figuring out who they were, she was wiping noses, cooking dinners, and folding laundry. I never forced her to stay home. This was something we had discussed and agreed on. But I know now that she started resenting it quietly, maybe even resenting me. I, on the other hand, was content. I loved being a dad. My happiest memories are of those chaotic, loud dinners and movie nights in the living room, with popcorn all over the floor. I thought we were happy. Tired, but happy. Then 3 years ago, Leah sat me down on a quiet Sunday afternoon and told me she couldn't do it anymore. She said she felt like she was drowning in a life she never chose, that she had married too young, had kids too early, and missed out on her freedom years. She said she wanted to travel, live for herself, and figure out who she was outside of being a mother and a wife. I was floored. I asked her what she meant about missing out. We had built this life together. I reminded her of all the choices we made hand in hand, but she wouldn't hear it. She was already emotionally gone. She told me she loved the kids but didn't want custody, that she needed to find herself and couldn't do that with 3 kids depending on her every day. She packed a suitcase and left, just like that. I won't lie, I broke. I sobbed the second the door closed. Our kids, then 11, 9, and 6, were confused and heartbroken. I tried to explain it as gently as I could, but what do you say to a child who's crying and asking, "Why doesn't mommy want us?" I stepped up. I became both dad and mom. I was making school lunches while answering work emails, helping with homework while making dinner, comforting them when they cried for her at night. We all went through hell. I was barely sleeping, working 2 jobs at one point to keep us afloat. Leah never sent money. She FaceTimed a few times that first year but always seemed too busy, backpacking in Europe, scuba diving in Bali, wine tasting in Italy. Her Instagram looked like a travel influencer's. Not a single photo of the kids. It was like she erased us. Eventually, she just stopped calling altogether. After about 2 years, things began to feel stable again. The kids had started to heal, and I was finally able to exhale a little. Then I met Jenna, 33 female, who's now my wife. She was a nurse and the aunt of my daughter's classmate. She had also been through a rough divorce and understood pain and patience in a way I needed more than I realized. We took things slow. She didn't meet the kids until nearly 6 months in, but when she did, it was like she lit up parts of their hearts that had gone dark. She never tried to replace Leah, but she was always there for them. Every parent-teacher meeting, every scraped knee, every sleepless night. Over time, the kids started calling her mom, completely on their own. I never asked or encouraged them to. It just happened. And Jenna cried the first time it did. We got married earlier this year in a quiet backyard ceremony. It was intimate, beautiful, and filled with love. For once, things felt good again. Last week, on a Wednesday afternoon, I was at work when Jenna called me sounding shaken. She said someone was banging on our front door, yelling and demanding to be let in. It was Leah. She had returned from whatever soul-searching sabbatical she'd been on and thought she could just stroll back into our lives. Apparently, she had finally decided she was ready to be a mother again and wanted to see the kids. Except Jenna was the one who opened the door, and the moment Leah saw her, she lost it. She screamed, "What the hell are you doing in my house?" and tried to barge in. Jenna stood her ground and said calmly, "This isn't your house anymore." Leah shoved past her and started yelling at the kids, demanding they tell that lady who their real mother is. When my youngest started crying and hid behind Jenna, Leah called her a brat and said Jenna was brainwashing them. That's when I got home. I heard the shouting before I even walked through the door. I came in and saw my wife crying, my kids scared, and my ex-wife looking like she owned the place. I told her flat out, "You need to leave. Right now. You walked out on us. You don't get to come back and act like nothing happened." She screamed that I had replaced her, that I stole her children, and that this was still her home. I reminded her that she abandoned this home and everything in it 3 years ago, that she made her choice, and if she tried to pull anything else, I would file for full termination of her parental rights and sue her for 3 years' worth of unpaid child support. She went dead silent, then stormed out. Since then, she's texted me multiple times demanding her rights as their mother. She says I'm poisoning the kids against her and letting a stranger steal her family. My oldest blocked her. My middle child said she didn't want to speak to that woman anymore. My youngest just keeps asking Jenna, "She's not going to take me away, right?" But now, some of Leah's family, who didn't say a damn thing when she walked out, are calling me cruel. They say she was going through a mental health crisis and needed time, that I should be understanding, and that I've turned the kids against their mother. A few even said Jenna should move out temporarily to give Leah a chance to reconnect. Jenna is heartbroken. She keeps asking if she's done something wrong. And the kids are tense again, regressing. My daughter started wetting the bed for the first time in 2 years. So, am I the a-hole? Absolutely not the a-hole. I cannot believe the sheer nerve of this woman. She left her own children, not just OP, for 3 years with zero contact, zero financial support, and then had the audacity to storm back in and act like she's entitled to pick up where she left off like nothing happened? That's not how parenting works. She gave up her role when she walked out the door. OP and his new wife have been holding that family together with blood, sweat, and tears, and they deserve peace. And now let's hear community's opinion. Lawyer here. OP, please absolutely get a family attorney involved ASAP if you haven't already. Based on what you've described, your ex-wife has effectively abandoned her children for an extended period, which is a critical factor in custody and parental rights cases. Her sudden return and erratic behavior in your home, especially verbally abusing your kids and your wife, could also potentially be used as evidence of emotional instability or unfitness. You've created a stable, loving household for your children. Don't let someone who ditched that responsibility derail everything you've built. She can't just reappear and expect to reclaim authority or affection without doing the actual hard work of parenting. Not the a-hole at all. In fact, I'd argue you'd be negligent if you didn't protect your family from her now. Mental health crisis or not, she still needs to be held accountable. Taking off to find herself without so much as financial support? That's not illness, that's irresponsibility. File for full custody and child support. Don't let her gaslight you. The audacity of her demanding Jenna move out is wild. Your wife has earned the right to be called mom. Titles aren't about biology, they're about presence. You and Jenna showed up. She didn't. Not the a-hole. Keep protecting your peace.
In my family, I'm the only one close to being financially stable. My parents earned enough to have a middle-class income, but my mom was a big shopper, and my dad would blow his money at the casino. Now my parents are at an age where they can no longer work. They mainly live off my mom's pension and the money I give them every month to support them. My brother went into dance after college, and his job after school was working as a retail associate at a luxury store. But he also has the same problem with his money, where all his money he spends on clothes, nights out. My brother married this guy who was 20 years older than him. Brother is 26. This guy is in his late 40s. Initially, the guy framed himself as the rich older guy, but that isn't the case. Here's the thing. They are now asking everyone to donate them money so they can pay for a surrogate in Mexico. First of all, I find this whole thing skeevy as hell with this poor woman from Mexico. But financially, these guys are going on trips left and right. They constantly lease and swap out cars. So when they asked me for money, I told them no. They tried to guilt me, and I said no, not at all. Then I get a call from my mom about taking out a home equity line of credit, and I was like, absolutely not. I told my mom that if these guys care about this so much, they can save up for it. and I forbid her to give money to my brother and his partner. She is like, okay, then I'll give a little bit. I tell her no. I tell her I am the one that pays their bills. If I find out that they gave a cent, I'm going to cut them off as well. When my brother and his partner found out about this, they were very upset with me, and I told them I don't care. They are now calling me horrible names and that I am ruining their happy life. I told them I don't care. They can start saving money themselves, but I am not going to spend a cent of my money to finance their lifestyle. Not the a-hole. I don't think anyone but them should be asked to pay for their surrogacy costs. If they can't pay the surrogate fees, I wonder if they'll be able to cover 18 years of child-rearing costs. Not the a-hole. If they want to use a surrogate, that's their business. But they need to get their financing in order first, instead of expecting you to fund it. And since your parents rely on you to make their bills, they should not be giving money away to anybody for any cause. Why should you refinance your home to support two adults who can party it up themselves? Not the a-hole. Your parents can support themselves if they want to pay your brother's way. And yeah, it's gross and exploitative to go out of the country, so you can take advantage of someone's life circumstances to get a cheaper baby. So instead of calling you names, they should look at themselves. My husband and I come from circles where it is extremely common for the parents to pay for the wedding. We would never ask our parents for anything, but to be clear, they all live very well and have the means to pay for the wedding if they wished. My parents immediately volunteered to pay for the entire wedding, and we were immensely grateful. Mother-in-law was upfront that she wasn't paying a cent, which, okay, that is her right, and I'm aware she doesn't like me. Father-in-law groaned a bit and said that he guesses the rehearsal dinner was on him. Just for some background, father-in-law is a partner at a huge law firm. He lavishes his new girlfriend in gifts and travels internationally at least twice a year. So money isn't an issue, and the rehearsal dinner wasn't going to put a strain on him. He shot down the options we sent him and said he didn't like them. His ex wouldn't eat the food at one, fancy barbecue, and he said if he was paying, he should get to pick. We were apprehensive but didn't want to sound entitled. He ended up picking someplace cheap and with decent food, but it didn't match the wedding atmosphere. Think a sports bar type place. Also, he didn't pay for alcohol, despite him and mother-in-law both calling parties without open bars tacky. And then he was buying drinks for his whole table and no one else, and they got dessert when no one else did. It felt kind of weird, but I didn't want to say anything. Then I heard this conversation. Mother-in-law's husband: "The steak kinda sucks." Mother-in-law: "Well, who orders steak at a place like this? Actually, who picks a place like this for a pre-wedding dinner?" Father-in-law: "I wasn't spending money on those mother duckers. Like, honestly, duck them. I spent more money on your birthday gift and we are divorced, and I don't even like you. They can both sit their entitled butts down. No one cares about their wedding. I don't just hand over money to people I don't respect." At this point, I confronted them. Mother-in-law was laughing. Father-in-law just kind of shrugged and said I should know he is an a-hole, and it is what it is. I brought my husband over and told him what had been said, and he asked what I wanted to do. I admitted I didn't want father-in-law at the wedding, and my fiancé said he would support that. Father-in-law's girlfriend called me entitled. Father-in-law didn't say much, and mother-in-law accused us both of being too sensitive and called me a princess. It isn't about the money, but his disdainful attitude, and I feel he did that on purpose, because that is not the normal type of dinner or party he would throw. Not the a-hole. Your father-in-law sucks. No one in their right mind would want someone at that level of toxic attitude at their wedding. Not the a-hole. I wouldn't invite anyone who called me a mother ducker to my wedding. I wouldn't invite anyone who didn't care about my wedding to my wedding. And I wouldn't invite anyone who said they didn't respect me to my wedding. Not the a-hole. What the hell? Y'all need to go no contact with that jackwagon and anyone that tries to give y'all crap about it. If anyone asks why he isn't there, please tell the truth. Tell them exactly what he said. Let everyone know that he is garbage. I'm 20 female, and my dad passed away 6 years ago. My mother remarried less than a year later. It was a horrible experience, and at the time, I didn't know how to manage my feelings. I never liked the man she married and kept my distance over the years. However, he began buying my siblings and I lavish gifts from the start. My siblings loved the new lifestyle. I moved out as soon as I could. Fast forward to the present. I'm financially independent and live by myself. My siblings live at their house. I don't see them often. A couple of days ago, my mother and her husband had a pre-anniversary dinner, and once again, he had a bunch of gifts for all of us. He bought me a gift worth $3,200, the most expensive one out of all of them. He said that he hoped that we could work towards mending our relationship. My mother kept asking me if I like it and even told me to say thank you. There was a lot of pressure, and quite frankly, it was irritating. I basically told him that it's a waste of money, irresponsible, and stupid to spend that much on a gift for someone who doesn't even care about you. And I told him that he's not my dad and should stop acting like these gestures will make a difference. Absolute chaos ensued. My mother screamed at me and told me to get out. My siblings were pissed too and called me a spoiled brat amongst other things. They said that I'm always being coddled by our stepfather and that I don't even deserve anything nice. Over the last few days, I've been called immature, petty, obnoxious, ungrateful, disrespectful, cruel, attention-seeking, etc. My mother even said that my attitude is completely unattractive to men and that I'll be forever single if I continue being so heartless. So, am I the a-hole? Yikes, you're the a-hole. Sounds like you took all of your frustrations from your dad's death and your mom moving on too quick, in your opinion, out on this poor guy. You're not obligated to like him, and you definitely shouldn't be pressured to treat him like a new father. But couldn't you at least treat him like a human? I'm sorry, but a person who comes into the life of a grieving child and tries to buy his way into a relationship isn't exactly innocent. I would say not the a-hole. He made the choice to give the gift, and everyone around was pressuring her to thank him. He didn't intend to give a heartfelt gift, but rather put her on the spot. Sometimes people's love language and the way they show affection is by gifting. I say this because I am the same way. If I can afford to buy the people I care about or the people that are in my life that I'd like to be closer to presents, I will, every single time. Maybe he shouldn't have put OP on the spot and given the gift at another time if his intentions were heartfelt. But I kinda think OP is the a-hole for being so cruel and disrespectful to someone who was trying to do something nice. You're the a-hole, kinda. I imagine losing a parent at 14 is devastating, and the feeling that he is trying to replace your father from everyone is awful. He likely thinks that gifts are a way to show that he cares and wants a relationship. You've shown that you don't respond to this, so he should stop and find another way of trying to connect. You don't have to be all in, but being cordial shows respect to your mom and family who does love him. He never has to be your dad, but he is a part of your family's life, so not being a jerk is important. If you haven't gone through counseling of some sort to work through some of these issues, I think it may be very beneficial. There is clearly a lot of pain, but being mean to people is only going to leave you alone in the end. I, 26 female, and my sister Megan, 36 female, have been in an argument for the past day because I refused to give her my twin bed set for her 4-year-old daughter. In the master bedroom of my house, I have a bed for myself and a nice, tall twin bed set I used as a dog bed for my 3 German Shepherds. The bed is super cute and equipped with everything from dinosaur bed sheets to large plushy pillows in the shapes of bones and T-Rexes. Background: since the first day my sister found out she was pregnant, she has been demanding handouts from everyone in the family. My sister was not, nor is currently financially stable or able to support having a child. Instead of getting a job, she mostly guilt-trips my mother and stepfather into paying for everything she and the child need. My sister recently moved back into town and was unable to bring most of her things from her previous house due to her having to leave in a hurry. Story: 2 days ago, my sister came and visited me at my house for the first time since I bought the place over 2 years ago. My sister was expecting me to live in, I quote, a crap shack, but was quite surprised to find out I live in a quiet, comfortable home filled with nice things I take care of. When my sister saw the master bedroom, she noticed the second bed I use for the dogs and commented on how stupid it was that I spent my money on a separate bed just for my dogs. Walking through my house, my sister treated it like a shopping trip and constantly pointed out things I should give her for her new apartment that my mother and stepfather are paying for. But she seemed to be most fixated on the bed I use for my dogs. She constantly pointed out how her daughter could really use a bed, since she would be having to share with my sister until they could afford a separate bed for my niece. The entire time I stonewall my sister and refused to give her any of the items in my house. Eventually my sister left disappointed and quite fussy. The next day I woke up to messages from my mother, stepfather, sister's friends, and even her baby daddy, all saying that I am cruel and that it is unfair for me to not give my sister the twin, especially if it's not even being used. My stepfather is trying to play peacekeeper and has offered to pay me in secret for me to give my sister the bed as a housewarming present. I am not interested in giving my sister the bed, nor any of the other items in my house as a housewarming present or otherwise. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. Just tell stepdad to buy her a damn bed. They will deliver it and everything, for duck's sake. Edited to add. And I'd just tell them, I'm not setting a precedent where she thinks she can just go shopping at my house and expect to get whatever she sees. Not the a-hole. Dear parents, sister has made her choice in life, and you continue to enable her to make poor choices. This is unfortunate, as it models poor behavior for niece. I choose not to do the same. The bed is not unused. It is the bed I have trained my 3 dogs to sleep on. My home is not IKEA. Sister doesn't get to go shopping here. This is the final word on the topic. If you bring it up again, expect us to go low contact. Signed, your child who has her stuff together. Not the a-hole. Your sister was older than you are now when she conceived your niece. You've managed to have a house and fill it with lovely things. It's not your fault that your sister did not make a great life for herself before she became pregnant. This argument is not about the bed. It's about her power to push you into giving her something that you've earned. The fact that she even got baby daddy involved says that she knew you'd put up a strong resistance. If you give in, she will up the ante next time. The answer has to be no, now and forevermore. Clearly, she is not accustomed to being told no. Expect a storm. You've given your babies an awesome life. My mother-in-law is a very difficult woman. She has struggled a lot with the transition of her kids having kids, as she only views her family as her husband and kids, and does not like having a grandmother role forced on her. When my oldest was born, I was naive and thought mother-in-law would help out. I learned that the hard way. She didn't want to do family holidays and just wanted to be alone with her husband. Stop doing family vacations. Honestly, I thought it was just because she didn't like me, but she loves her son-in-law and isn't any more interested in their children. I will admit this hurts me, and I set pretty harsh boundaries. One of the boundaries was that my husband would not accept gifts from mother-in-law. She would always get him really nice birthday and Christmas gifts and give our kids cheap impersonal junk. Mother-in-law's gifts to him were always experiences or hobby-related things, as he grew up wealthy but does not make the kind of money he grew up with, and she feels he doesn't treat himself enough. 6 years ago, we told mother-in-law that he would no longer be accepting these gifts, as he is a husband and a father first, and it isn't right. Well, my husband has been struggling with some depression lately. One of his biggest things is he feels like he is just a husband and father and lost his identity. He feels he gives constantly and gets very little back. I hate seeing him like this, so I called mother-in-law and asked if she wanted to resume giving him gifts, and said I would no longer stand in the way. Well, he had a birthday recently, and mother-in-law bought him something for his hobby, probably a $10,000 to $12,000 bike, according to the internet, and gave him some gift cards so he could take a weekend away to his favorite trails. I could see how much it meant to him and felt I had made the right decision. But my daughter blew up. She said I was being unfair to her by allowing mother-in-law to flaunt how selfish she is, and that he should stand strong and say there will be no gifts until she can buy gifts for the family. She said she was disappointed in my lack of a backbone and disappointed in her dad. I saw my husband's face fall and told him it was okay and I didn't regret my choice. But our daughter was cold the rest of the night. The last gift mother-in-law gave her was a tiny makeup palette she probably picked up online. Our daughter is 13, by the way. Not the a-hole now, but I'm not sure why you ever block gifts for your husband. It's sad that she isn't as extravagant with your kids, but it's her right to spend her money on her own children instead of her grandchildren if she wants. I'm going to say your attitude about this seems to have affected your daughter, who is acting terribly entitled and spoiled. I would be deeply sad if my daughter's reaction to her dad being really happy for the first time in a while was, "If I can't have it, no one can." This should be a wake-up call to OP that she has a lot of work to do to teach her daughter caring and empathy. Instead, OP is wondering if she should continue to gatekeep her husband's relationship with his mom to pacify her entitled daughter. Yeesh, you're the a-hole, OP. You're the a-hole, and your daughter is also the a-hole, forgiven as she is a child. Most people give young children crappy gifts, and thank the heavens, most children love crappy gifts. You will rue the way you have raised your daughter.